Alright guys, so this week's lure review is going to be on the Rapala Rippin Rap lipless crankbait. Rapala's got a couple different lipless crankbaits. They got that Rattlin' Rap, and it's my estimation that having the Rippin Rap and the Rattlin' Rap around the same price point, and this one's a newer one, I would guess that they're probably trying to phase out the old Rattlin' Rap. That's just my estimation. I have no other evidence to back that up, but having two lipless crankbaits in their lineup that are at the same price point, I would guess that they're trying to phase out the older one. But they also have the Clackin' Rap. I think it's called the Clackin' Rap, and that's the more expensive one. It's like $10, and it's got that chamber right in the middle of it, that metal chamber that has the ball that rocks back and forth. And so anyway, this is their moderately priced lipless crankbait is what I'll call it. Pretty nice little crankbait. Got a couple things I want to go over with you guys about it. A couple different colors here, so let's check it out. Alright guys, so the Rapala Rippin Rap. You guys go to the Rapala's website. They show three different sizes. They have an RPR05, 06, and a 07. This is the 06. The first one is the smallest one. It's the RPR05, has a length of 2 inches, and a weight of 5/16 of an ounce variable diving depth sinking lure. This one, the 06, is length of 2.5 inches, half ounce variable diving depth sinking lure. So it's that average that everybody really likes, that 2.5 half ounce. The big one is the RPR07, has a length of 2 3/4 inches, 7/8 of an ounce variable diving depth sinking lure. There we go. One of the first things I noticed about this lure, outside of the fatter profile of it, you guys, I'll show it up against an XR50. It looks just longer or wider this way in the profile. But outside of that, the first thing that you notice about it is these hooks. The hooks are rather small, short shank VMC hooks, and they are a true short shank hook. You can tell that there's not much shank there on that hook. But they seem relatively small. In fact, the overall bait seems relatively small. It's all of the 2.5 inches. I'll show it here. If you include that hook hanger, it is all of that 2.5 inches that they're claiming, but it just seems to be overall a smaller, lighter feeling bait in your hand. It's relatively thin. Show you the Strike King Red Eye Shad. You see how much thinner that it actually is. But even against the Strike King Red Eye Shad, it just looks like an overall smaller bait. So, but the hooks on there are fairly small. I think that back one is it says a number 8, and then the front one is a number 6. And show you guys like a comparison with the XR50. You see the XR50 front one, it seems to be much bigger, and then the rear one, it's quite a bit bigger as well. So some of you guys might want to change those hooks out. I don't know if it's necessarily going to affect the lure. It's a sinking lure anyway, so it might just make it sink a little bit quicker if you put bigger hooks on it. But outside of that, I don't think it's going to make it affect it. I don't think it'll affect the action of the lure much at all. You see the head of it's got kind of a cupped in design there, which is going to help that vibration a little bit. It's got a really thin wobble, which the thin body creates that tighter wobble that it has, which in turn creates a lot less vibration that's felt in the rod tip than some of the other ones that you might like to fish with, like the Strike King Red Eye Shad will have a much better vibration felt in the rod tip than this one. I was talking about the small size, or the seemingly small size of the lure. Even for that seemingly small size that it seems to have, even though it's a half ounce lure, it does cast fairly well. I didn't notice any loss of casting distance. In fact, I thought that it casts a little above average over some of the other lipless crankbaits that I have. The rattle inside of this thing is actually really cool. It's got, I'm going to call it a dual rattling system, even though it seems to have the same. I don't have a transparent one, so I can't show you what it looks like, but it's got a partition here right around where this chartreuse line is. And on the top here, it's got smaller rattling balls, and it's got a few more than, I think the lower chamber here has only got 4 rattling balls. And in some of these lipless crankbaits, they've got a big chunk lead weight This one doesn't have that big chunk lead weight. It's just got those 4 rattling balls down there, which I'm sure serve the same purpose as that lead weight, but it's almost a dual purpose in the fact that they move around, so they create a sound for the rattle as well. So it's got kind of a really, I guess, a neat, loud sound. So it does have that nice, loud, rattling sound. Here's the Strike King Red Eye Shad. So you guys get the idea. But I was impressed by the sound. Just when you pick it up and you kind of shake it around, it does seem to have a really nice sound to it. So, and it does have, as far as the features on the body, you can see that it's got that fin there. It's got the raised gill plate, and it's got some raised scales on it as well. 3-dimensional holographic eyes. It's got that mouth on there and a little fin on the top, which is just a nice touch. So you kind of tote this thing as having a really nice shad profile, and I'll happen to agree with them. It does have a nice shad profile. Some of the patterns that you'll find aren't the most realistic. Rapala's deal is kind of they don't necessarily have the most realistic patterns that you're going to find, but the profile of it is actually really, really nice. This one is the Helsinki Shad. In fact, I'll just go ahead and go over this color that we have right now. Helsinki Shad. When you go to Tackle Warehouse, they only have the 06 and the 07, so they don't have that little 1/4 ounce one. But the Helsinki Shad is kind of like a sexy shad profile, or sexy shad pattern. It's got that. It's a much darker blue on the top than you're going to find in some of the other sexy shad patterns, but this is their version of a sexy shad pattern, I guess, because it does have that really bright fluorescent chartreuse line going down the middle, shad dot there, and just an overall kind of a pearl body. Doesn't change in the belly. Obviously, you can see it says the Rapala Rippin Rap 06 down the bottom. I personally like when they're badged on, just so you can kind of tell what they are. When you grab them out of the box, you can kind of tell, oh yeah, that's that 06, so I know that that's that 1/2 ounce. So anyway, there is the Helsinki Shad. This next one is a crawdad pattern. This one's actually called Red Crawdad. It looks like a water slide transfer decal that goes right over the top of it. I'm not exactly sure if it is indeed that, but it does look exactly like that. And I'm almost positive that they do that on the DTs, on the Rapala's series of DT crankbaits, that they put those water slide transfer decals, and this looks exactly like that Red Crawdad that they have in that line of their crankbaits as well. So it's got the 3-dimensional holographic eyes on there, just kind of a really bright orange lipless crankbait. Probably a good one for a lot of you guys in the summertime when those crawdads are really, really bright red, or at least in our area, they're bright red in the summertime. So there's Red Crawdad. Like I told you guys, I usually like picking up these crawdad patterns just because they've been so successful for me in the past when I'm using a lipless crankbait. So, so that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about this crankbait. It's really nice. It's really inexpensive. I think it's only $5. It might even be cheaper than the Strike King Red Eye Shad. If it's not, it's just a few cents off. The Tackle Warehouse has it for $5.79. You go to Rapala's website, they have it listed at $7.29, but I've never seen it for that price. So it's fairly inexpensive. Good little crankbait, casts well, has a really nice rattle in it. So you guys get the opportunity, check out the Rapala Rippin Rap. Pretty nice little cheap crankbait. And if you guys like the video, hit the like button down here over in the lower left-hand corner. I really appreciate that. If you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that, I usually answer comments and stuff once a week, but I will answer them. So just leave a comment or a question down in the lower part, and I'll try to get back to you guys. Thanks a lot, and I'll try to get back to you with another review here shortly. Thanks a lot.